And then the other dude, some dude, he's like, I don't know One Piece. So he decided to do a Ginyu pose. And not just any pose from the Ginyu Force. Captain Ginyu himself, the fucking full
looking
on.
through his legs.
Yep, the
Looking
full on
through.
bent over. And I'm like, you know what? That's even more appropriate because that would just be like, who the hell is that guy? I don't know. Clearly, he's not one of us.
No, 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 no. Oh, gee, I wonder what I might do.
I'm glad you kept repeating it because at first I was like, no. What?
Doing?
Really? No? Anyone could have said no, and then you kept doing no, and I was like, oh, okay.
No. Oh,
Well,
yeah.
also, when you first started, my eyes were rolled back in my head because I was trying to think of something to do when the camera started, so I couldn't see the hand gesture. So all I heard was,
Right.
no!
You were just like, he just saying no. That's the phrase. That's funny. Anyway, if you're just tuning in, this is the Whatever We Want, a podcast, and the little calling card that we're doing for this time through is we always talk about wrestling. Now we got a new podcast, First Sunday Wrestling, that is going to be first Sunday of every month on this channel. But we always talk about wrestling. So my dude Pete Omari was like, hey, why don't you just do wrestling quotes? So now we're doing every alphabet in the order for wrestling quotes. And that was when Mr. Bryan Danielson was Daniel Bryan. And after he started getting over as Daniel Bryan, the powers that be were like, nah, we want you to be a bad guy. So they tried to make him a heel. And instead of saying yes, 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 he said no, no, no. I will say this, not that the people who are watching this even give a fuck about wrestling, like those who don't really don't, but I thought that the yes chant was dumb, and I don't participate at it when I go to wrestling shows. But that's neither here nor there. Anyway, like so, I am that party pooper.
So is the Goofy movie the only thing that everybody likes that you also like?
No, Kendrick Lamar just released an album. I haven't listened to it yet, but I love Kendrick and do think that man is like the best, one of the best rappers to ever do it. So yeah,
okay,
I can name a whole lot of shit. With your fucking the Goofy movie's okay.
I said it was good. It's a great movie. You're mad that I'm not saying it's the best movie ever. That's the only difference.
I've admitted that. Yes, I am mad that you're not saying that.
I'm not saying it's okay. I said it's a great movie. There's a difference.
Anyway, introducing the show. This is the Whatever We Want. Before we go down this road, this is the Whatever We Want podcast, as I previously stated, where we're already somewhat starting to. But well, first off, I am one of your hosts. I am. You can call me Superjaz.
Superjaz.
As nature intended. Superjaz, SJJT, Jazz, whatever you want, what have you, in the like. And I am joined by.
Oh, y'all know who it is, what's going on, when it's happening, where it's at, and why we're here today. How you doing? It is I, the sublimely magnificent, big ugly himself, Omari Ellis, feogrande on YouTube. And here, yes again, as usual, not much else to say. I feel like I needed to say more, but I just get used to doing intros and talking.
Yeah, it was like you were just talking, but you wanted to stop, but didn't, and kept just like, what? Anyway, and yes, on the Whatever We Want podcast, we do just that. We talk about whatever we want. We do not lead the conversation, as you can already see. The conversation leads us, and we let these chips fall where they may.
Every Wednesday.
So, unless you were, done talking, because I don't want to stop you from talking about whatever we were just talking about, I did actually have something to kind of get the ball rolling a little bit more for the rest of this hour.
Good, because I don't have anything to talk about. The one thing I wanted to talk about was like, you haven't seen it yet, so.
Oh, that's strange. Yeah, I haven't. No, I have not seen that yet. No, but no. So, I have my own multiverse of madness. The last few days.
That's okay. In a few weeks, when we finally put up an episode where we talk about it, then we have the long enough grace period anyway.
I don't
grace period for spoilers. You know, if it's been a
Uh,
month after it came out as opposed to 2 weeks, look, you had a month to see it.
Because I was like, what the fuck are you talking about? Anyway, like I was saying, I have my camera. My camera looks like it's. Anyway, I don't know if they did anything or not. But no. So I normally at my job work Saturday, Sunday morning, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday night. The last week, I worked Saturday, Sunday morning, Monday night. And I usually have Thursday, Friday off. Worked Monday night. And then I had 4 days off because I had to call off of work for Tuesday and Wednesday. Now, guess what I did in these extra 4 days off?
Nothing.
What'd you say?
Nothing.
But not in a fun way.
Oh.
Laid in bed all day, hoping to go to sleep, but not being able to sleep because I had severe fucking tooth pain.
Oh.
You sound so sad.
I'm sorry.
I'm not trying because you like are my best friend, so of course you're like, oh shit, but just the way you just like,
Oh.
I don't know why that.
I can't make a joke out of that.
I wouldn't have felt bad if you did. I'm over it now. Like,
No, but fair enough.
Have you ever had
not to that degree, no.
Not to the degree where it was so debilitating. That
With tooth pain, no.
Oh, okay. No.
Other pains, maybe.
You said like to where you couldn't go to work.
Well, I mean, technically, I had enough back pain to where I kind of had to take some time off work and then end up leaving said job.
Yeah,
so, back pain cost me a job. So,
I think you talked about that on another episode.
Yeah.
Or you at least told me about that off camera.
It was probably mentioned early on because it was in the process of happening when we started it.
Because we have done this for fucking over a year.
Yep.
Crazy. Anyway, nah, man. I went in Monday and I had some tooth pain from the bad tooth I got and shit, and it was bad enough, but I was still able to work. But like I said, when you cooking, and you haven't worked like cooking, like dining, whatever, but you definitely done food service, so when you're doing food service shit, you gotta be moving, like move. You gotta fill them orders. You gotta do this, then boom, boom, bam. So I'm, moving Monday or whatever, and it was like I was able to keep up, and it wasn't a problem. Sometimes I'm just sitting off to the side. I was already starting to pop ibuprofen though,
Mm-hmm.
So, and I don't even be fucking with ibuprofen like that.
Me neither. People are like, why don't you? You're in pain all the time. Because I'm in pain all the time, and I ain't trying to be an addict.
Right, exactly. But although I don't think you can get as addicted to ibuprofen, obviously don't quote me, as you can to like other painkillers. Like Oxycontin, you can get addicted to that shit.
Yeah, well, there's also the whole, like chemical addiction as opposed to mental addiction and dependency and stuff like that. Like some shit's just designed to be addictive, while others, you can become addicted just because of like creature habit, or you've attached a dependency to it in your mind.
Yeah, it's psychological, really, like you said. But no, I will I just got bad teeth in my face. I have a serious affinity for candy. That's the problem. But anyway, I had a tooth pulled. This is like a whole little side thing off of what happened to me recently. But tooth pulled 2 years ago before everything really started, shutting down and whatnot. And it was the last show that I did, like play wise, before it all happened. And this like tooth got so bad, my face swelled up a little bit, and then I got the tooth pulled and everything like that. And I forgot where I was going with my story in the middle of telling it. I forgot why I was going there, motherfucker, in the middle of telling that shit. Oh man, I can't even think about what I was talking about. I know I was talking about the tooth, but I forgot why I brought it up.
Tooth pain, missing time from work, maybe.
But I mean, what was the linear path I was going down? I know all the connections except why I brought up that particular part.
Oh.
It's gonna be funny as shit when I watch this episode. That's like, damn, you dumbass. Anyway, well, I guess fuck that side note. Let's go back to what we were talking about. I don't remember what the fuck I was talking about with a side note.
I don't either.
Anyway,
I don't either, but I guess you know what's it's crazy. It's crazy how fast time passes as you get older. But seriously, I was talking with my roommate and his fiance last night, and we were remembering something that my roommate, myself, and a few other friends I mentioned on this show. I believe I've mentioned them before. There was Roz, Jeff. Because I decided, because you were like, wait, you just used Jeff as the name.
Everybody else crazy thing.
Yeah, it was Roz, Jeff, my roommate, myself, a guy. I don't remember if I had a name for him. Call him Shorty for no, I don't want to call him Shorty. That's weird. Due to lingos and stuff.
Oh God! I don't think anybody would have thought that.
I just realized that as I said, because I'm like, he's short. I'm gonna go with Shorty.
Anybody would have been like, well, clearly he's calling him Shorty because you know what he's getting at. Like nobody would have thought that, but you.
Lil Man, and some dude. We went on what we call food quest nowadays, but it was essentially we went around the state of Florida to various different food places. We went to Iron Maiden's restaurant, or an Iron Maiden themed restaurant.
I was gonna say themed.
It's I don't remember the details because it was 12 years ago, which I guess is the point I was going to try to make after saying, like, the fact that this was 12 years ago and it just hit me because it feels like yesterday. And then I looked at the, like, pictures I found on it and was like, nope, that was May 9th of 2010. So quite literally 12 years ago. But no, we went to that restaurant, whatever the hell it was called. I think it was like Rock and Roll Wings or some shit. Then we went to Miami, and along the way we picked up Roz, because leaving this place, because we left from where I am now. We left from here to go to there, and when we left it was like myself, my roommate, Jeff, Lil Man, the four of us. We went to pick up Roz, and while we were there, Roz is like, hey, want to bring this guy too? Who is this guy? Does it matter? I guess not. And so this guy was just with us for the rest of the journey.
Oh, so that was some dude?
Yeah. And some dude was just with us. And we go south, we go to Miami, because Roz is like, hey, there's this place, they got salmon hot dogs. And it's like...
I'm sorry. I was thinking, what kind of hot dogs?
Salmon, whatever.
What was it?
What is it?
The L is silent, bro.
Huh?
The L is silent. Salmon.
So yeah, salmon hot dogs. Fuck you. No, but they got some hot dogs, and the place was either closed or they were open and they didn't have the salmon hot dogs. So it's like, well, that kind of sucks. So we ate something in like some food court or some fucking mall. I don't know. It was Miami. It was 12 years ago. How the hell am I supposed to remember?
Right, good point.
Then we go to Fort Myers, eat at a place or two there. There was a really good ice cream, as well as Sanibel Island or whatever. Eat at a place there. We eat at like a flamingo, or a place called like the Pink Flamingo or something like that. It was right on the beach. We took some pictures on the beach. It was really cool. We even took a picture because Roz is like, hey, how about for this picture we all do a pose from One Piece, where the pose is simple enough for the few people out there that would get the reference. It's the thing from at the end of the Alabasta arc, the famous iconic pose attached to that with the crew having their hands in the air for story reasons, like just like a fist in the air. And it was like, all right, let's take a picture like that. And so, and I think Little Man was taking the picture. So it was myself, Jeff, my roommate, and Roz, all with the fist up. And then the other dude, some dude, he's like, I don't know One Piece. So he decided to do a Ginyu pose. And not just any pose from the Ginyu Force. Captain Ginyu himself, the fucking full on. Yep, the full on bent over. And I'm like, you know what? That's even more appropriate because that would just be like, who the hell is that guy? I don't know. Clearly, he's not one of us.
For those who don't know, like, which might be, a lot of y'all, but I mean, come on, millennials, if you don't know Dragon Ball Z. Anyway, or Generation Y, excuse me, I'm sorry, Omar. No, for those of y'all who don't know, Dragon Ball Z, so the Ginyu Force was one of the many bad guys that they faced in Dragon Ball Z, and it was a group of, like, I want to say 5 people, 6, 7, something like that. And the leader was Captain Ginyu, hence the name, the Ginyu Force. And they would all do these like silly. They would all do this like silly pose of them doing
Power Ranger-esque poses because it was based off of the same archetype that Power Rangers like literally stole clips from, the Sentai genre.
Super Sentai is where Power Rangers came from. People might not know that, right? So they all had their own little part of the pose. And Captain Ginyu being in the front. I'm not gonna fully recreate the thing, but the man would be right there, and they would all hit the pose like at the exact same mark on a T, like boom. And he would turn around, like if he's facing you, he would turn to where his 180 is facing away from you, put his legs a little bit more than shoulder length apart, and look through his legs.
Ass to the camera, looks through his legs with his hands like this, like ah. He also had another pose where he didn't do that, where he would crouch and have his arms out, like
Right. But you can look it up if y'all want to see it. Captain Ginyu, Ginyu. Yeah. So that's why he's talking about when this dude said, I don't know what to do. I'm gonna do this pose. Not only was it like, oh, he referenced it, but also what the fuck?
Yeah, he went full Ginyu, just ass. Like, okay, sure.
I bet all y'all were like, "Hey, why the fuck? Hey,
why not?" I mean, it's not like we're not Dragon Ball Z fans or anything. So I mean, it worked exactly. But it was one of those things where it was like, we went ahead and we laughed, and it was, like I said, it was even funnier picture because he, as the random dude that's just here, being the one not doing the same pose as everyone else, was just hilarious. But no, Food Quest, that was crazy. It was 12 years ago. So after that, we drove up past, Orlando. We could have just gone home, but we went up further north and went to a place called Munchie's 420, where you can guess what their target demographic is. But they were open real late at night. No. Yeah, open real late at night. Had a lot of like sandwiches. We had some sandwich that was huge with like tons of ingredients on it. I don't remember 12 years ago, but I'm talking about like chicken fingers, mozzarella sticks, mac and cheese, amongst other stuff. Yeah, it's literally just, hey, be fat. It's something that people of that target demographic probably would really want to eat at 2 in the morning.
That's really some like, if you were pothead fucking like food. God damn. They took a sandwich and put chicken strips, mozzarella sticks, fucking mac and cheese.
And some other stuff. There's a similar place that just opened up down here that I think Mark Cuban invested in called Fat Shack, and they have a lot of sandwiches like that.
So wait, obviously I know why, but that's fucking hilarious. Like, why is it that the stoner or the big person basically have the same restaurant under a different name? It's like, bruh, you know what would be really fucking good right now, man?
What, man?
Some mozzarella sticks with some chicken strips with some macaroni and cheese.
Yeah.
But but like but like I kind of also want a sandwich, and like I don't want to get any dishes dirty.
Dude, what? What? There's just like, what is it, like 2 in the morning? Or there's just like a restaurant open right now where you
Dude,
can
it
do
is,
that.
man. Should we be driving right now? You know what? We're fine.
I'm driving shit. And then they died.
Wait.
Don't drive high. Don't drive high. That's the end of our PSA.
Well, that's not where I was going with that.
Well, we also don't want to be on here endorsing high driving.
Holy shit.
Do you
Or maybe
remember
not.
those commercials from the 90s? That's literally how those PSAs would go. That's how those PSAs would go. It's just like real common. And then they died. Don't fucking do drugs. Oh. Oh, shit.
What happened to mom? Well, she was a great single mom making things happen. And she hit the blunt one time. Never came home. Like, what the fuck?
Oh, I remember, speaking of years and years ago, more along the lines of 20 years ago. But when I was younger, speaking of like time goes by,
I'm old.
I don't like that it was 20 years ago, okay? At least. But when I was younger, that definitely, I was like a walking version of that PSA. I would definitely say that
in
about
another episode,
everything. Like, oh, you do it, you're gonna die. Do drugs, you're gonna die. Have sex, you're gonna die. The alcohol, you're gonna die.
Devin Downer ass motherfucker. It's like, I don't do this shit, but I'm not going around like, hey, you know what? You know what you shouldn't do. You know what you shouldn't do.
High school times and stuff, yeah, that definitely was what I was doing. Just no. Not you gonna die and go to hell and nothing. I wasn't religiously. There was no religious attachment to my accusations of why you shouldn't do this thing. It was just you do it, you die. Like I don't do drugs or alcohol or sex because I ain't trying to die from the side effects. So
oh man,
there's a quote for you. Just I don't do drugs or alcohol or sex because I don't want to die from the side effects. Ugh. Another 90s PSA thing. Hey, yo. Hey there, urban youth.
Hey, you know what? They would say it just as corny as that. I don't do drugs, alcohol, and sex.
Because I don't want to die from the side effects.
You know, that sounds almost pretty much just like a big old bug with an ugly mug.
I'd rather eat a big old bug than ever take a stupid drug. Drugs aren't cool. They can get you in trouble at school. They can mess you up at school. Drugs are brain. They can your body and brain. I'd rather eat a big old bug.
What was that one? Because they used to, they're like, no, don't smoke tobacco, motherfuckers. They used to do a whole lot of fucking
Truth
commercials. Truth. Right.
They still are.
Well, I was gonna say, don't get me wrong.
Long after they won.
After they won.
You're not allowed to advertise cigarettes on TV, but they still act like you can.
Well, no, you can't advertise it on TV, and you especially can't use any cartoon imagery that would be like advertising.
Yeah, but they still act like you can in their commercials.
Well, I was gonna say real quick about the whole marketing towards kids thing, was because remember Joe Camel and how they were like, we're not marketing towards kids, yet we have this really fun cartoony looking like camel talking about
fair, but at the same time, well, back then less so, but still there are cartoons that adults watch as well. That's all I'm gonna say.
True. But Joe Camel looked like he'd be hanging out with Toucan Sam. That's the point I'm making.
Oh, okay. I don't know if Toucan Sam's cool enough to hang with Joe Camel. That's a cool ass dude. He's a cool ass dude.
Joe Camel be like, hey.
Not only did he smoke, he had shades and a suit. Like, there was more to the cool thing than just the smoking. And that's the
All the
problem.
more
And that's
reason why a
the
kid
thing.
would
And
be attracted to it.
but here's the thing that I was gonna say. They didn't really. They eventually picked up on that. Like I think I mentioned on here the movie "Thank You for Smoking." "Thank You for Smoking" with Aaron Eckhart. But that's one of those things that they eventually tried to do is like, okay, only villains can smoke in movies, or they tried to make sure only villains or bad guys or generally deplorable people could smoke because they got tired of cool people smoking because that would still, even if it's not animated, inherently be cool to kids.
Exactly.
But it's also cool to as an adult who is older than 31. I will go ahead and tell you, I still think it's cool at least to see. Do not so much. Like if I'm sitting there with a cigarette or something, I don't like cigarettes. I don't get the cigarettes. I just
You
don't.
tried it one time?
Cigarettes? Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I never tried smoking because again, and not condemning people who do, but I never tried smoking because I felt like, oh my god, that's all.
Self-imposed peer pressure led to me at least trying it.
You realize how oxymoronic as fuck that
Yes.
sounds,
right? I said so because I have good friends. I haven't really been peer pressured into doing anything that's truly dangerous. Borderline dangerous, sure. We mentioned the car window thing. That's just
right. I'm
borderline.
about to say, they said jump off this
Borderline dangerous.
Shoot this man in the mouth right now, Omari.
But like cigarettes and stuff, because of how outspoken I was against this stuff. You know, in high school, like even if I had friends doing the stuff, they didn't really do it around me that often. You know, and things like that. And once I'm in college, I went down. I was the main one out of my group. The like cast of characters from that one story that I told about Halloween. Once I went to college, I came back and people were smoking, cigarettes and the like, and drinking or whatever. And I was like, and again, they like me the way I am. No one told me, hey, you can't hang with us if you ain't doing this. What, you a square? You get tipped to be a square, first off. Second off, no. I'm not. But no one pressured me into it. However, I felt like, well, they're all doing it. I want to fit in. So I'm going to try. Let me see. Because they're smoking. I might as well see if I enjoy it. You know what I mean? And I'm like, oh, God, I don't.
You took one drag and that was enough?
No, I'm not going to say it took one drag. But I can count the number of cigarettes I've had in my life on one hand. It's like 3 or 4. I tried it more than once because I also have an innate desire, or not innate desire, but innate trait to, if I'm going to try something, give it a fair chance.
Which means typically giving something a fair chance means more than one time.
Exactly. Even though Star Wars: A New Hope put me to sleep, I still watched it 3 times. I still watched it 3 times. That's all I'm saying. Cigarettes, even though I hated them, I still tried it like 3 times. But yeah, that's what I meant by self-imposed peer pressure. I told myself that if I want to be with my friends, I gotta try this. Even though none of them
was thinking that.
Exactly.
That way in the
nope,
slightest.
not at all. Not at all. Not at all.
You could have been perfectly good friends with them, and they would not have treated you any type of different for the rest of y'all, like friendship. And if you never smoked, but you were like, nah, it's got to be this way.
Exactly. Like, I gotta do this if I'm gonna fit in. Which I think I also mentioned early in a previous episode when I talked about when I first started drinking it. I used to be like, I threw up after 13 shots of whiskey. And this guy over here, Bob, can drink 14 shots of whiskey. I'm so weak. I can't even fit in with none of y'all.
13 shots is a lot of fucking whiskey.
Now.
Oh, no.
Back then, no. Only thing I was focused on was it was less than what Bob was drinking. And
You gotta keep
I've
it up
mentioned
with
that I'm
Kardashian's
overly
ass, or
competitive.
Jones's ass, I should say. Keep up with
Uh,
Jones's ass.
pretty much keeping up with the tomatoes.
Keep
So
a Bible up there if you want to. Proud to Bob. That's funny.
uh, and like I said, Bob will tell you the competition between the two of us, the competitive nature of our friendship was all one-sided. Whether it
I was
was
about to say, is
one-sided,
it reciprocal?
whether
Like, what
whether
the
it
fuck?
was whether he'll tell you it was one-sided, whether he'll tell you it's one-sided because either A, I I was the only one competing, or two, because I was never winning any of the competitions. Because he's also made that joke as well, which means A isn't the thing. It was definitely B. Where?
Uh, that's kind of funny. It was like, mm.
It's like there was no competition. I was just better. So it
That's
is.
that's a friendly way of slick talking somebody. Like, okay, I see what you did there. Fuck you, but I see what you know.
Exactly. Like I'm on to you, but no. Like I would definitely, even still, even if it was reciprocated and we were both at a competitive nature, one of us clearly cared more about losing the competition than the
And
other.
then one,
And then what is this
one
guy?
of the co-hosts of this show. Right?
Look, I took a psych profile at work this week as a joke, and one of the things on there, under fears, it put, and the only thing that you had to do was like, it was like 28 boxes of 4 words. You pick the box, in that box of words, you pick the word that applies the most to you and the word that applies the least to you.
It was like no like answer the question. It was just what word applies the most to you.
Yeah, out of these four
Okay.
out of these 4 words in these 28 boxes, and based off of that, they're like, this is your psych profile.
Okay.
But it was funny because one of the things they had for likes was winning and looking good in front of people. And one of the things, or no, goals was winning and looking good in front of people. And I'm like, well, winning, yes. I don't know if you can say a guy who walks around literally calling himself Big Ugly cares about looking good, but okay. But for fears, it said losing or looking bad in front of people. I was like,
That's the same thing.
well, at the same time, I was like, okay, you got me. I don't like losing. I really don't like losing, nor do I like looking bad in front of people. Like the whole branding thing that we've mentioned before. Like I've mentioned before, where I was like, I think I've realized I like branding, or I tried to be on brand. And even as I was filling out the thing, I'm like, I want to pick this, but I don't want to seem like a jackass for picking this one over this one. So I was even keeping that in my mind as I'm like filling it out. So the fact that it said that
is like, you talk about branding, but you even say how you understand that some of the branding is like, I'm branding this to myself. It's just like, what? It's like, I don't want to seem bad for picking this. Who's gonna know? Or even really care.
But yeah, it was funny. And the thing turned out to be highly accurate. There were a couple things that were not true, but for the most part, it was highly accurate. So, like I said, it said I was self-sacrificial, and that I like to entertain tirelessly. I tirelessly entertain people.
So you entertain even up to a point where it's like past you're having fun, you still continue entertaining.
I mean,
how often does that happen where you entertain to the point where you stopped having a good time?
I'm not even going to say so much about not having a good time, because a guilty pleasure of mine that I've admitted is I love seeing people happy. That's a guilty pleasure of mine.
That's a great quality to have.
But I have a ton of energy, and even when I am tired, for the sake of like making somebody else laugh or just doing something that's a random Omari action, I will probably end up just doing shit. And I've had numerous people be like, dude, it's fucking 3 a.m. How do you still have any energy left to be doing this shit?
Okay.
So in the literal sense of entertains tirelessly. I'm like, okay,
Funny.
yeah. Okay, I don't know how you got that out of me picking things on a paper, but okay, I see you. But
Right. I mean, just the whole like process of getting to and wanting to be a performer. We talked about that lends itself to like that innate need. What was I gonna say? You know what I always wanted to do
what's up?
out of curiosity. I always wanted to. Speaking of like what you were talking about, I always wanted to take like a straight up grounded professional, like professionally executed, professionally done from a professional IQ test.
Mm-hmm.
Like I've always been really curious. And you know, it'd be bad. I always been really curious what my IQ is. What would be bad is if I see that shit and come to find out my IQ low as fuck, and this whole time I actually was a blithering dumbass.
I think I took an internet one and it was like
I mean,
120
I'm
something.
internet shit before. You
I
said
think I
what?
took an internet one and it said like 120 something. And
I don't know
I'm like,
necessarily.
I think it was like technically above average. Not like you a super duper genius man, but it was just like technically above average IQ, which based on my grades before I stopped caring as much, yeah.
You know what's funny though, that, and I mean this could be a roundabout way or it could speak truth, but what's so funny is you said before I stopped caring that much, yeah, but it could kind of speak to you being above average because they say smarter people get bored easily and then therefore don't give a fuck. Like, so in a weird roundabout way, that even more so lends itself to you being intelligent. Because you get what I'm saying?
Yeah. Look,
Like
high
they,
school, I further discovered my
oh,
love for a few
man.
things. I further discovered my love for acting, but I also further discovered how much I really enjoy video games.
Yeah,
And this
yeah,
anime stuff seems pretty cool too. Also,
I remember,
being stupid is fun. So I'm gonna do stupid things with my high school friends. Like we mentioned idiots with cameras and the likes. That was all, that popped up around those times. So it's like this is just more fun than studying and cramming and all this stuff. Also, when it came to high school, I also was feeling myself with my intelligence, so there would be a lot of my studying was last minute
oh yeah, I've done that so many fucking times.
on purpose too. Not even so much, oh, I forgot to. It's just like I got it. I'll just study the night before the test.
We talked about that somewhat on other shit. We were talking about like the last thing I needed to learn was that I could learn my lines for certain shows quick because then I knew that I could
Exactly.
learn my lines quick. So I should have learned my lines sooner, but I knew that if I crammed, I could learn it quick. And it's just like,
Exactly. That's a perfect example of, yeah, I was feeling myself pretty hard. It's like, what? I gotta do a monologue for my final in this class? Let me wait till the morning.
but the whole thing is like
That
that
was a
like
summer school final though
well, I would
for
say
college.
that night before or morning of, no matter what your age, whether you're younger or older, that night before or morning of, before you have your performance where you cramming your shit and you don't know it, even though you know you can get it, you freaking out like, okay, I'm gonna get this, but oh, shit,
Yeah,
how
that
did I
luckily,
wait?
luckily that one was only that one time. Usually, otherwise, it would be I'm gonna be the first one off book because I took a pride in being the first one off book. If not for the whole play, then for certain scenes at certain days, it's like, oh, we're reading over this scene or practicing this scene tomorrow. Be off book on this scene by tomorrow, so that brownie points of impressing people, and two, I can actually focus on learning the blocking or whatever the fuck we're doing direction.
Blocking, it's called blocking. The stage
No,
directions
well,
blocking.
I know it's called blocking, but what if we're not doing blocking that day? Is more what I was saying. Blocking or whatever
You
else we're
just
doing.
okay. When you said whatever, I thought you like
Yeah,
I forgot.
yeah, blocking or
Um,
whatever else we were doing that day.
according to Google, 121 IQ means that they say a score of 116 or more is considered above average. and they say a score of 130 or higher signals a high IQ. So you didn't necessarily have like a high IQ, but you had above average according to that. But then
That's
that's
what
the
I
thing.
said.
That's exactly what you said. I just wanted to look it up just because we weren't sure about it. I'm taking online stuff. I don't remember what I got. I mean, if I could say in the humblest way possible, I have been told by teachers coming up, and I mean, I know, like, they've been like, "Oh, you're so smart, you're intelligent, blah 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 blah." So I kind of want to see, like, I don't think, no, I don't think I'm a fucking genius, because
Me neither.
if somebody put binary code or whatever the fuck in front of me, I would look at that shit and be like, "Oh, look at all these tens." Like, the fuck.
Though to be fair, with that regard of it, you also got to remember IQ isn't necessarily obviously it evaluates stuff that you do know, but it's
Yeah,
also an evaluation on how well you can learn said
learn and
thing,
process.
learn information if need be, or you put any kind of effort into it. You can learn and process things, and for that, that's another reason why I was like, maybe they're on to something because when I do care about something, I can pick up on it relatively
Yeah,
well
yeah,
and commit things to memory and stuff like
yeah.
that. So yeah,
That's why I say, like, online is one thing, and there's some accuracy to it, but it's not 100% accurate. It's like if I went to a place that this is what they do and they got it regimented for this and they blah 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 blah, and they do all that shit, and it would just be one of those things where it would just be like, I want to, like I said, it'd be fucking hilarious if I go in there and they're like, your IQ is actually 7. I'd be like, how? No. Or they don't even give me a number. I just go to see on the paper and okay, jazz, blah blah. I live at so and so. Yeah, okay, I'm 31. I weigh okay, seeing all the specs and say, oh, IQ. Here we go, the IQ line, and we're supposed to be a number just says dumbass.
or they hit you with the Forrest Gump. It's like here's your average. Or here's real smart. Here is average. You're right here. 5 points below the average line. It's like
I just rewatched that movie
I
two
saw it
years,
Friday.
2 years ago
I saw it last Friday at
on
work.
TV with commercials, or like, yeah, okay.
Someone turned it on
I,
at work.
I rewatched it, like, on, uncut, no commercials, whatever, because now that I'm an adult, because that shit came out in what, 94 or some crap like that, 4 or 5, some shit.
It came out hella early.
Yeah, I was like 3 4 years old, 5 at like the oldest, and I think I wasn't 5. So I didn't remember that fucking movie. I saw a little bit of it, didn't really know that. So I was like, okay, let me actually really watch this movie and let me really take in what everybody's saying about this movie really being this good. Okay, let's see.
Uh huh.
I feel about it like you feel about a Goofy movie.
Okay.
It's cool. It's good.
Okay.
I think there's some level of overrated.
I totally thought you were gonna come out here and be like that movie.
You and that face you made, I was like, fuck this motherfucker. Let me
I'm
finish
like,
my
oh
statement.
god, here it comes.
Finish my fucking
I
statement.
didn't say anything though. I was listening.
Yeah.
I let you
know
talk.
what? You know what? You said enough with your motherfucking smirk and your fucking ha disposition, bitch ass motherfucker. No, for y'all who don't necessarily know, however many y'all do or don't watch the show, which whatever, but I unintentionally, and I genuinely mean unintentionally, come off to some people as a contrarian, as in I purposely don't like shit. But and you can even see to the attest of Pete that there have been some things that I didn't know was genuine, like a general, like the general consensus was it was good until after I said I didn't like it.
Hmm.
And then it was like, oh yeah, well, you don't like it, but everybody loves it. And I'm like, oh, well, I didn't fucking shit it all over this thing. So pretty fucking funny.
Yeah. But no, I'll have times like that. But I think I'm always speaking of. I don't like looking bad in front of others. Um, there are times where I will like keep personal opinions about things that I like to myself, as opposed to things I don't like. If I don't like something, chances are I'm probably gonna let you know it. But for the most part, when it comes to my personal opinions, I try not to mention them unless I know that I'm in a group where someone else also agrees with that thing. Like there was a friend, there's a friend of mine that doesn't like Final Fantasy VII, or a couple of friends of mine. And when I found out that they didn't like it as much, I remember my first thought being, "Oh shit, I've already mentioned that I love this fucking game." They probably think I'm a fucking idiot. Shit like that. You know what I mean? So there's things like that where I was like, yeah, guilty pleasure of mine is Final Fantasy VII. It's a really popular game. No, 6 is better though. You know.
I was about to say, depending on who you ask, Final Fantasy VII. I'm not a gamer to the nowhere near to the extent of you or my big brother, but depending on who you ask, Final Fantasy VII wouldn't be a guilty pleasure.
You wouldn't think so,
because it's so beloved. A guilty pleasure would be somebody saying some shit like, "I like to play."
Well, you also got to remember, in high school, I also was
Gex into the Gecko, like that.
Yes, in high school, I was also a lot more along the lines of my opinions aren't shared by anybody. I used to think I was in the minority because I liked Dragon Ball Z.
Which is so funny.
Or Final Fantasy or anything like that. I'm like, oh no, I can't mention this to certain people. So me admitting that I like certain things to people, I had always had some innate like, I'm going out on a limb admitting I like this. Hopefully they do this. Oh God, they don't. Oh God, they hate me. This is back then. I know now people can have opinions. Calm down.
I will say this though. What's so funny is everybody in like our age group and our generation or whatever, we all obviously, like a vast majority of us, grew up watching Dragon Ball Z and loving it and everything. But the funny thing is, it was less cool to say it that you love Dragon Ball Z anime back then than it is now. So we all were watching that shit, but a lot of us were pretending like we didn't because it wasn't so cool to love anime 15, 20 years ago as it is to 2022. So in a weird way, it was like everybody was just like closeted Dragon Ball Z lovers. Like we love Dragon Ball Z, but then everybody like pretended like they didn't like anime. The only anime that was acceptable to like back then was Pokemon. And motherfuckers didn't know that Pokemon wasn't anime anyway.
Yeah, I believe we mentioned that. Oh, no, another hill too. But yeah. Where the hell were we? How did we get?
I was about to say, you just like derailed the whole conversation.
How did we get? I was like, how did we get to this point?
Well, that's the whole point of the show.
No, we've gone down the particular topic on a previous episode about the whole in high school you don't like as much. The like literally the quote, your last quote that you were talking about, the only thing you liked was Pokemon, and that was a thing. We had mentioned that. That's all I was saying. Like before we go too far down that particular path, but we got to that intersection somehow, and I was just trying to get back to that intersection.
Well, we took the road less traveled by, and that has made all the difference. Robert Frost.
Ah, yes, and there were footprints right next to me. I remember that one.
Is that what he said in the
poem? No. I'm combining the thing on the beach where it was like, oh, there were footprints, but then there was only the one set of footprints, and that's because Jesus was lifting me and carrying me instead of that. You don't remember that? Yes, there was a thing where it was like someone thought that they were like walk on the beach, and for a long time there were just footprints next to theirs, but they couldn't see anybody. And God's like, yeah, I was walking with you, but what about those times where those footprints were just mine? You abandoned me during there. I didn't abandon you. I lifted you and carried you. Those were just my footprints. Or some stupid symbolism thing like that. It is an actual poem of religious basis about, Jesus carries you. You never walk alone.
I told you that my whole thing was
Jesus walks, not you.
you know what the Midwest is? Anyway. No, I was saying, like I said before, one of my favorite poems is well, first of all, one of my favorite writers, period, is Edgar Allan Poe. But I feel so like
In
sometimes
saying that,
when I really think about it, because speaking of great poems, a beautifully written love poem about romance and everything is Annabelle Lee. When you talk
Annabelle
about
Lee. I almost said Marceline, and I'm like, that's not the name of it.
no, Marceline is a random city in Missouri that Walt Disney like grew up in when he was a young boy. I know, right? I visited there like, you know, in 2019 when I was doing a tour around state, going to places teaching kids about dental like health, which is funny because of how I opened up this podcast. I'm not making that up. I'm not making any of this up. As long as I can do this and it don't look like anything bad, there you go.
It's okay, Jazz. I was once in a PSA series about mental health issues. So, you know.
You make yourself sound like you all stop it. Anyway, anyway, no. See, now they got derailed. We might as well just call this the fucking like
Marceline, Missouri. Dental teaching.
Annabelle Lee. Annabelle Lee.
Ah,
Annabelle
yes.
Lee. The poem Annabelle Lee is a beautifully written poem, love poem, romance, like great wording, because Edgar Allan Poe was always great with his words. But the problem is, you know who Annabelle Lee was?
Yes.
Who was Annabelle Lee?
His like 12-year-old cousin.
The man was 31 and it was his 13-year-old cousin. This motherfucker was in. So it's like, ooh, the Telltale Heart. Some of the greatest suspense imagery, like saying a whole lot while saying a little. All right, cool. Ooh, okay. We over here, we look at the cask of Amontillado, where he's talking about like getting revenge and the way he described it. Oh my God, it's crazy. The Raven and the way he kept the whole narrative going with the poem, and it's like more in like imagery with macabre, but it's not too crazy. And it's like Annabelle Lee, and it's like, whoa, you weird motherfucker. I should have known. I feel like okay, go. I should have known. I should have known.
Here it goes. Here it goes again. And then you just got them dancing on the treadmills. It's like, here it goes. Here it goes. Here it goes again. You ever tried to do any of that stuff that they were doing on them treadmills while you were on the treadmill?
Basically, what you're telling me is I'll answer your question with a question and say, you have?
I mean,
because
only ever so slightly. Because I'm way too much of a pussy to actually try it. I'll turn to like try and do like a couple steps sideways and eventually like panic and go back to like normal. Or try to do the like backwards walk thing and then like nope, not a good idea.
How dope is it that it's a whole band, and one of the early classic viral videos of the internet or YouTube or whatever is your band's music video. That's pretty good. Like they can, whether people really remember and know, okay, go, here it goes or not, they can genuinely say one of the classic viral YouTube videos was our shit.
Yeah, it was one of the first uses of the term viral video that I remember was that.
I mean, there were a few of them. We talked
about one of the first uses of the term, which, you know, considering it was like 40 years ago, there's a lot of uses of that term.
Yeah, but, it was 40 years ago. We were negative something. No, what was I gonna say though? But I remember too at the VMAs that year, they did, and they had like the 8 treadmills set up going opposite directions, and they had old like K going on the treadmill and LED lights, and they did the entire routine live at the VMAs that year with the dude lip singing and all that shit. And I remember they did it like live in front of everybody, and they did it without a hitch. straight up. And when they slid off and it was like over, like one of the people in the band was like, yeah. Like the second he got off the thing, and I was like, yeah, man, I don't blame you.
Yeah, whenever you have one of those moments where you're like, oh, if we hit this, it'll be the shit, and then you hit it, yeah.
Without a hitch.
Yeah.
Without a hitch. Like it was like not only did y'all just do, because they did it one take on the video on YouTube. Okay, that's already crazy. Y'all just did this shit live in front of millions of fucking people at a goddamn like pretty prestigious award show. You allowed to go the fuck off.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, they did that, but yeah, like I said, you do something, you do a stunt in front of people, and it's as good as you thought it was gonna be. Oh man, the reaction, like even fucking real short thing. Randy Orton who's a wrestler, is not even immune to that thing. Like the fucking stomp into the RKO thing at that one WrestleMania, where Seth Rollins ran up and he caught him out the air, and then Randy gets up and is just like before fitting him. Yeah,
he was going kind of crazy like that. Yeah, because they executed that perfectly.
Exactly.
Speaking of executing perfectly, if you would like to perfectly execute a left mouse click, if anybody uses mouses anymore, or just execute perfectly a click of your trackpad over our socials, you can go ahead and follow yours truly, which would be finding me on my social. You can anywhere that you stream your music. Actually, first off, I am an MC. I make music. I rap. So actually just released the second single off of my debut solo album. So the album itself is My Secret Identity. You can find that anywhere you stream your music. You may have to put in Superjaz, My Secret Identity, since I'm not so famous yet. And the single that will be a few weeks in by now, and the music video may be up by this time, is actually going to be called I Tried. So you can go ahead and look for that under Superjaz, which is spelled Superjaz. Also, if you want to, you can go ahead and find and follow me on my Twitter, which would be under Superjaz2. So that would be under the name Superjaz number 2. And of course, if you would like to find and follow my Instagram, then you can go ahead and follow me under Forever Superjaz. Where can they find you, sir?
Well, you can find me here every week, every Wednesday on the Whatever We Want podcast. You can also find me elsewhere on YouTube under feogrande. That's Feo Grande. I even got some new videos up there lately, including another series where I talk about movies. I'm trading movies back and forth with a good friend of mine, Bill Smith. We trade movies back and forth that the other one hasn't seen. So far, we've done Hamilton, and I believe this week we did another movie, Molly's Game. I know it was kind of sucks that he's recommend something great like Hamilton to me, and then I responded with Molly's Game, but I didn't have a counter for Hamilton that I could think of on the spot, like that level of cultural phenomenon that somehow he wouldn't have seen. So instead, I went with a movie that I saw recently and had thought was good, but was also based off a true circumstance, based on a real story. But yeah, Molly's Game. That was
you're not talking to
channel. That was the other one on my channel. But still, no, I feel like I have to justify responding to Hamilton with that, because those are not the same tier of movie. Spoilers. But then we. But yeah, so I've got other stuff going on up there. More content will be on there. You can also find me on Twitch and Twitter under Giotavi. That is Giotavi. Mainly playing fighting games on my Twitch. Also started the new Final Fantasy game, Stranger of Paradise. Just is silly. The thing I mentioned when I was like chaos killed at the juvenile fashion, whatever. The game that I was mentioning there came out, and so I've been trying that out. Because I gotta know, Jazz. Why does he want Chaos to die so fucking badly?
I've come to kill Chaos. What was I gonna say? And as we stated earlier on in this episode, everybody, the first Sunday of every month, we will be giving our thoughts on the state of the wrestling world with a little bit more of an AEW slant. We talk about wrestling so goddamn much. We said we need to have a whole podcast where we actually just talk about wrestling. So that being said, obviously not wrestling the whole goddamn time. Hopefully we will be able to stay on track and remember what the fuck we are talking about in general. But what the fuck are we gonna talk about next time?
Whatever we want.
Be nice to yourself, everybody.
Adiosness.
It's no good all along. Maybe life's meaning's just that easy. Thoughts creeping in, feel me losing me, feeling powerless, motivation lacking, both knowing yet not knowing what happened.
Pick me apart from the outside. I'll pick myself apart from the inside. As long as I can look in the mirror and say I tried. Pick me apart from the outside. I'll pick myself apart from the inside. As long as I can look in the mirror and say I tried.
Sometimes just wanna be left alone. Should probably take the battery right out my phone and it's met with hesitation. Then I myself meditation.